Hello everyone, my name is Devin. Today's date is May 30th, 2026, and in this video, I'm going to go through the diagnostic processes for 3 different firearm scenarios. I'll explain the likely malfunction type, what clues from the customer pointing me towards those issues, and what evidence I would expect to see, and what components may be causing the problem. I'll also give follow-up questions that I would ask my customers to help narrow down the diagnostic. And with that, let's jump into it.
Are you there for 200, sir?
Reserve for it all.
I've got this 9mm pistol that's been giving me trouble. Every once in a while, it doesn't seem to eject the empty shell right. I have to rack the slide a couple of times to clear it. Sometimes it even feels like the slide's not moving as smoothly as it should. I've been using the same.
Now, for this failure type, the most likely malfunction in this scenario is going to be a failure to extract or a failure to eject. Now, I believe this because the customer is saying that their empty shell is not ejecting correctly and that they have racked the slide multiple times trying to clear it. And they also mentioned that the slide doesn't feel smooth anymore, even though they haven't changed what ammunition they're using. Those clues would point me towards an extraction or a cycling problem. Now, my first thoughts are, is there going to be an extractor issue, fouling in the chamber, a weak recoil spring tension, or possibly an underpowered ammo casing causing the slide to short stroke? Now, let's take a look at what may be happening inside the firearm. During the extraction phase of the cycle of operations, the extractor is supposed to grab the rim of the spent casing and pull it from the chamber. If the extractor slips off the rim or the slide doesn't travel far enough rearward, the casing may stay partially stuck. Now, this could also affect the ejecting step because casings may never properly strike the ejector. Now, the likely components that are involved in this are going to be the extractor spring, your chamber, your recoil spring assembly, and your slide rails. I would expect to see extractor gouging or slipping marks on the rim of the casing. I may also see carbon buildup on the casing or scratches from dirty chamber. Now, if the slide is a short stroking, then the brass might eject weakly or inconsistently. Now, the example from Module 1 that best matches this would be the damaged extractor rim examples, showing chipped or torn case rims. Now, some mechanical causes are going to be the extractor hook grabs the cartridge rim during unlocking and extraction. And if the extractor tension is weak or the chamber is dirty, then the extractor can slip off the rim. That leaves the spent casings trapped in the chamber and causes a stoppage. Now, some questions I might ask the customer to further narrow things down are going to be things like, how often does the malfunction happen? This would help determine whether the issue is random or consistent. Have you changed ammo brands recently or used reloads? Which the customer has already said they have not. But this different ammo pressures can affect the slide velocity and how the extraction works on your firearm. Now, according to the NRA Gunsmithing Guide, weak extractor tension and fouled chambers are common causes of extraction failures in semi-automatic pistols. And with that, let's move on to scenario B.
I was out sighting in my hunting rifle, and something didn't feel right. One of the shots kicked a lot harder than normal, and the bolt was tougher to lift afterwards. I stopped shooting because it just didn't seem safe. I don't really know what happened, but I figured I'd better have someone look at it.
Now, for scenario B, the likely issue here is an overpressure ammunition event. Now, I believe this is the case because the customer reported unusual heavy recoil and difficulty lifting the bolt forward, and those are classic warning signs of excessive chamber pressure. Now, at first, my concern would be unsafe ammunition, excessive powder charge, or incorrect head spacing, or even an obstruction in the bore. Now, what may be happening inside the firearm is when the cartridge fires, the chamber pressure may rise beyond normal operating limits. That pressure can cause the brass case to expand excessively and stick to the chamber walls. This makes the bolt hard to lift during the unlocking and extraction phase, which could explain exactly what the customer was experiencing. Now, let's take a look at some likely components involved in this. Those components would be the ammunition, the chamber, bolt locking lugs, your extractor, and your barrel. Now for this, I would expect flattened primers, ejector flow marks, shiny pressure rings near the case head, or even heavy extractor marks. The brass may also show signs of expansion on the case head. Now, the mechanical causes behind this are going to be when the pressure becomes too high, the brass expands tightly against the chamber walls. The bolt then has to overcome that pressure and that resistance during the unlocking, which explains why it felt difficult to lift. The excessive pressure can also force the brass against the ejector and extractor with abnormal force, creating visible marks. Now, some things you can ask your customers to further narrow things down are going to be things like, was this factory ammunition or hand-loaded ammunition? This matters because hand loads increase the possibility of an overcharged cartridge. Did you notice any unusual sound, smoke, or recoil before this happened? And this is important because that helps identify possible squid loads or pressure spikes. Now, according to SAMI pressure guidelines, flattened primers and sticky bolt lifts are major warning signs of excessive chamber pressure. And with that, let's move on to scenario C.
I've had this old lever gun for years, but lately it's been running kind of rough. It feels like the action's dragging when I cycle it, and sometimes the rounds don't feed or eject as cleanly as they used to.
Now for scenario C, the likely malfunction here is going to be the feeding and extracting issue caused by wear, fouling, or timing problems within the action. And I believe this because the customer says that the action feels rough and that rounds don't feed or eject smoothly anymore. Since this developed over time, it sounds more like a wear or buildup rather than sudden damage to the firearm. Now my first thought is excessive fouling or worn internal parts, weak springs, or bolt surfaces. Now let's take a look at why this may be happening inside the firearm. Lever action rifles depend on smooth timing between feeding, chambering, extraction, and ejection. If one component drags or becomes worn, then the entire cycle can feel rough. A dirty action or worn carrier would prevent rounds from feeding correctly. Now, let's take a look at the likely components involved. Those would be the extractor, the ejector, the carrier/lifter, your magazine tube springs, lever linkage, and your bolt rails. Now, I would expect to see scratches on the cartridge cases, inconsistent extractor marks or dents from improper ejection, and there may also be brass shavings or wear marks inside of the receiver. As the lever cycles, the carrier lifts around into alignment with the chamber. If the carrier timing is off or parts are worn, the cartridge can drag during feeding or fail to eject cleanly. This rough cycling creates visible wear marks on the brass. Now, some questions we can ask our customer to continue to narrow down this problem are going to be, how long has the rifle been showing these symptoms? And this can help determine whether the issue is gradual wear or sudden damage. When was the last full disassembly and deep cleaning? This matters because lever guns collect fouling internally, especially on older rifles. Now, according to the Gun Digest book of firearms, assembly and disassembly, worn carrier parts and fouling commonly cause rough cycling and feeding issues in older lever action rifles. Now, in conclusion, each firearm shows different symptoms that point towards different failures in the cycle of operations. The striker-fired pistol most likely has an extractor or a cycling issue. The bolt-action rifle shows signs of possible overpressure, and the lever-action rifle appears to have wear or timing-related feeding problems. Careful observation of brass evidence, firearm function, and customer information can help narrow down the root cause before repairs begin. And with that, thank you all for watching.